and it will go right down to the wire. But I think in the end, there'll be an agreement at the very last minute. That's typical, of course, of decision-making in the European Union. If you look at the extent to which both sides have moved over the period that the negotiations have been going on, Theresa May's moved a fair distance. She made a speech in London at Lancaster House last year, which was setting out essentially a hard Brexit. You know, Britain would be out of the single market, out of the customs union, and have no jurisdiction, no recognised jurisdiction of the European Court. Now, the Chequers Agreement, as it's now called, has softened that considerably. I mean, we're kind of half in, according to the agreement, we're kind of half in and half out of the customs union. The court will still play a role in conjunction with UK courts and will have some features of the single market. So what we've ended up with is something like a soft Brexit. Now, within that, there is a red line, and that relates to the Irish border. My reading of this is that the Irish government have not been entirely honest in the way they've approached this. They see this as a lever to pursue a long-term goal, which is the unification of Ireland. Now, the unification of Ireland is a perfectly respectable idea as long as it's done democratically by agreement with the North. But I think they can lever this a little bit and create a situation where Northern Ireland is separated from the United Kingdom. Now, she's not likely to accept that under any circumstances.
Well, I mean, I was going to say, Theresa May is not going to accept that at all. So how is she going to get Parliament? I mean, there's a Tory party conference coming up next month. How is she going to get Parliament to back her plan, which she then has to sell to the other EU leaders?
Well, if there's a provisional agreement with the European Union, then she, despite, you know, much arguing in Parliament and much disagreement, the Chequers Agreement will then be, or some near version of it, will then be the only game in town. And I can't see the House of Commons just throwing this out, because that would mean Brexit without any deal. And frankly, if that occurred in the context of international financial markets being very nervous, particularly about the trade disputes going on between China and the United States, you could trigger a financial crisis across the world with something like this.
But she's just said, she told the media briefing that she did today that she is prepared for a no-deal Brexit. I mean, that, at the moment, that does appear to be quite a strong possibility.
It is, and actually the British government and indeed on the other side, the European Union, both want to make noises about how this is really possible. Because that's part of a chicken game. That's part of confronting your opponent into trying to make them back down. And there's a certain amount of that going on. It's not hostile. The tone is fairly reasonable. And I think in Strasbourg, the tone has been very positive. But essentially, both sides are still entrenching themselves. But my point is, if the Irish continue to insist on this, separating Northern Ireland from the UK, I think there will be a crash out. I think Brexit won't work because it's very much an issue of identity, which is always more difficult than an issue to do with bargaining or economics.